right, guys, picture this. 1 minute, the headlines scream Diddy attacked in jail, and the next, the very person who's been helping him inside turns around and says, nah, that never happened. Welcome to the latest episode of Diddy's real-life drama series, where every exclusive turns out to be just another remix of the truth. So here's what allegedly went down. Diddy's so-called jail assistant, the same guy who's been bragging about working closely with him behind bars, sat down for an interview with journalist Lauren Conlon. And what he said basically threw Diddy's entire prison narrative under the bus. Instead, the chaos supposedly broke out because of, wait for it, basketball wives. Yeah. A fight over the TV remote, not a shank. Apparently, this assistant thought he was defending Diddy. He went on this long rant about how loyal he's been, how he's protecting the boss, but the more he talked, the more he exposed. Well, this assistant's version completely dismantles it. He claims Diddy wasn't attacked. He was just caught up in a heated cell block dispute when inmates started arguing about what to watch on TV. No hidden weapon, no attempted murder, just egos, noise, and a lot of bad timing. But here's the real twist. This guy, without even realizing it, basically admitted that the story Diddy's team pushed out was fake. You can almost imagine Diddy pacing in his cell, furious that his own supporter just blew the whole cover. Because if this was truly about PR, it's a disaster. What was meant to make him look like a survivor now makes him look like a storyteller. Think about it. The world read that he was attacked, that he barely survived, that he was living in fear. Fans rallied behind him, believing prison life was breaking him down. But now we're finding out that maybe it was all smoke and mirrors, a carefully staged story to draw sympathy and shift attention away from the serious charges hanging over him. And honestly, it's wild. This assistant, trying to look loyal, might have done more damage than any journalist ever could. Because when someone from inside starts talking, it's not just gossip anymore, it's credibility. And if Diddy's credibility starts cracking from the inside, well, the empire might not survive another hit. So the big question now is, why would Diddy's camp even create a fake knife story? Was it to make him look like a target, or just to humanize him? Either way, this slip-up has opened a whole new can of worms. And if history tells us anything, once the narrative starts unraveling, it rarely stops.
Can you talk to me about the incident when he woke up to a knife to his neck?
That's false.
Oh.
He didn't wake up with no knife to his neck. The incident, I recall the incident because I'm the one that intervened when the incident was going on. He was watching TV actually when this happened. He was watching Basketball Wives, and this West Coast gang member that was serving 30 years walked up to him and was really trying to take a chair from him that Diddy was already sitting on. The incident happened over a chair that nobody owns, that the facility owns. So he was trying to take this chair from Diddy. So Diddy, and mind you, Diddy wasn't scared. Diddy didn't flinch. He just stared the guy down and was asking the guy, your homeboy, why you coming at me like that about a chair that don't belong to none of us? You see I'm watching TV? And the guy got hostile. I don't know if he was trying to look for some clout or he was having a bad day. He got hostile with Diddy, but this is where I've seen Diddy's actual change. When the guy was getting hostile, Diddy tried to spread love to the guy and talk some positivity to the guy.
All right, let's unpack this for a second, because the full interview just gets wilder the more you listen to it. You know when someone forgets to keep their story straight? Yeah, that's exactly what happened here. The assistant didn't just slip up, he practically broadcasted that Diddy's entire tough guy persona collapsed the second he faced a real challenge behind bars. So here's what reportedly went down. According to this assistant, there was a tense moment in the common area when Diddy tried to stare another inmate down. Classic power move, that I'm Diddy, I run the room kind of energy. But here's the thing, in jail, none of that star power matters. There's no red carpet, no entourage, no cameras to make you look larger than life. It's just men, reputation, and survival. When Diddy tried to assert dominance, the other guy, allegedly a California-based gang member, didn't flinch. He looked straight at him like, what you want to do, man? Let's go. It was pure tension. And right there, the illusion cracked. The assistant even admitted that Diddy froze up. That moment, according to him, was when the bad boy mogul realized that fame doesn't mean anything when the door's locked behind you. Now, this part had people online cracking up. Not because of the confrontation itself, but because of how the assistant told it. He tried to sound like he was defending Diddy, but ended up clowning him without even realizing it. He described how Diddy's whole attitude changed once the situation got real. One minute he's glaring, trying to act tough. The next he's backing off saying, "It's all love. It's all love, bro." And that line says everything, because it echoes what some people have been saying for years, that Diddy's aggression was always selective. The assistant mentioned how Diddy only acted tough when he had an advantage, but when faced with someone who didn't fear him, the fight vanished. Suddenly, the King of New York turned into just another inmate trying to avoid trouble. It's a humbling visual, isn't it? The same man who once stood on stage surrounded by millions, now standing in front of another inmate, trying to prove something, and losing that stare down. There's no music, no spotlight, no crowd. Just the echo of a name that used to mean power, now reduced to whispers in a prison hallway. And honestly, the assistant's story, whether true or exaggerated, hits on something bigger. It shows how fame warps reality. When you've lived years believing everyone respects or fears you, jail becomes a brutal mirror. It strips away the image, the money, the control, and leaves you face to face with who you really are. Now, people can debate whether this assistant is exaggerating or just talking too much for attention. But one thing's for sure, this "it's all love" moment has gone viral for a reason. Because in one sentence, it flipped the entire narrative. The man who built a brand on dominance and confidence reportedly folded the moment that brand couldn't protect him. So yeah, the assistant thought he was defending Diddy, but what he really did was pull the curtain back. And what's behind it? Not the unshakable mogul we used to see on magazine covers, but a man realizing, maybe for the first time, that power doesn't follow you into prison. So get this, the assistant didn't stop there. He went into full storytelling mode, painting this ridiculous picture of Diddy trying to act like the big dog of the block and getting checked hard. According to the assistant, Diddy was sitting on what inmates call the plastic throne, basically one of the few decent seats in the TV area, and he wasn't about to give it up. Then another inmate, reportedly a California guy who wasn't impressed by fame or fortune, walked over and said, "Hey, you better move." Evelyn's scene on Basketball Wives is coming on. Yeah, you heard that right. The man wasn't fighting over respect or territory. He just wanted to watch Basketball Wives. And the funniest part, the assistant says Diddy actually tried to pull rank. He supposedly said, "This my seat. I'm Diddy," as if his name alone meant something behind bars. But the other guy, he wasn't buying it. He just laughed and said, "Not anymore." And that's when, according to this assistant, Diddy realized he was out of his element. The stare down failed, and the self-proclaimed mogul went from tough guy to "it's all love, bro" in record time. The assistant described it like a movie scene, only this one was pure comedy. Imagine the man who once threw million-dollar parties now begging for a seat in front of the prison TV, surrounded by inmates who couldn't care less who he used to be. The glamour, the arrogance, the attitude, gone. Just another guy trying not to get clowned while Evelyn Lozada appears on screen. But then the assistant took it a step further. He hinted that Diddy's request to be moved to Fort Dix wasn't random. Allegedly, Diddy wants to be there because he's safer. He supposedly has people on the inside who've promised to look out for him. The assistant suggested that Diddy's current environment leaves him vulnerable. Threats of extortion, possible beatdowns, and constant tension with inmates who don't respect celebrity status. It makes sense in a darkly ironic way. For years, Diddy's been surrounded by yes men, people paid to nod, smile, and agree. But in prison, the only thing that earns respect is survival. And when you've spent decades acting untouchable, suddenly realizing you're just another target, that's a reality check money can't fix. The assistant's comments sparked a new wave of discussion online. People began debating whether Diddy's bad boy image could survive such humiliation. Others pointed out the poetic justice that a man accused of controlling others through fear and power was now reportedly experiencing what it feels like to be powerless. He even threw in a heavier point, one that hit deeper than expected. He mentioned how cycles of violence start, how some inmates grow up watching abuse at home and carry that anger into adulthood. It was an unexpected twist in the interview. tying Diddy's rumored past behavior to the kind of people he's now locked up with. So, in one bizarre, yet strangely fitting way, the assistant managed to expose more than Diddy's weakness. He exposed the irony of it all. The man who once symbolized dominance and wealth is now, allegedly, just trying to stay out of trouble, begging for peace and maybe a little protection in Fort Dix. And the punchline? Even inside prison walls, basketball wives still starts fights. The assistant, and later a man named Raymond Costello, who claims to have actually shared a block with Diddy inside MDC Brooklyn, are both painting a picture that's bigger than just one celebrity losing his cool in jail. This is about perception, fear, and karma catching up. See, people love to say, well, lots of guys in jail have made mistakes. True. But the difference is most of them didn't walk in wearing a billionaire's attitude. Inside, that sense of entitlement doesn't earn you respect. It paints a target on your back. According to Raymond Costello, who reportedly served time alongside Diddy, many inmates look at him and see everything they resent. The fame, the arrogance, the belief that money can buy redemption. He said some inmates openly mock Diddy, calling him out for how he allegedly treated women, especially in light of the Cassie scandal. In their eyes, he's not just another prisoner. He's the walking embodiment of the kind of man they grew up hating. And that's what makes this story so unsettling. Costello claims that some inmates have made it clear Diddy's life inside isn't just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. There are people serving 10, 15, 20-year sentences who look at him and think, you're getting out in 2.5 years? Cool, I'll make sure those years aren't easy. That right there is the fear Diddy allegedly lives with every day. For a man who once controlled everyone around him, he's now surrounded by people he can't control. And as twisted as it sounds, some believe he deserves to be afraid. Not because violence is justified, but because, in a poetic sense, he's finally feeling the fear others once felt around him. But then there's the other part of this story, the so-called knife incident and the alleged redemption arc that Costello talked about in his interview. He claims to have witnessed what really went down that night, and he says Diddy exaggerated it to gain sympathy. According to him, there was no assassination attempt, no cold-blooded threat, just tension that spiraled out of control and turned into a sensationalized headline. And here's where things get messy. Costello apparently described the situation as a story of redemption, saying Diddy was learning humility and reflecting on his life. But how can you call it redemption when the foundation is built on lies? That's the contradiction everyone's pointing out. You can't rewrite the narrative to sound noble when you're still manipulating the truth. The irony is painful. The same instinct that got Diddy into trouble on the outside seems to be following him inside. Every time there's a chance to come clean, he allegedly spins another version to protect his ego. The public hears Diddy the survivor, but behind bars, inmates see through it. They see a man terrified, paranoid, trying to maintain an illusion that no longer exists. So if we're being honest, maybe there's no redemption story here at all, just repetition. The same cycle of control, denial, and fear, playing out in a concrete box instead of a mansion, and maybe, just maybe this time there's no PR team to clean it up. Let's call it what it is, the so-called redemption story. It doesn't add up. Because if you're still lying, still manipulating, still trying to twist every headline into a sympathy piece, then what redemption are we even talking about? Raymond Costello, the man who once served as Diddy's teaching assistant for that so-called free game with Diddy class, didn't sugarcoat a thing in his interview. Maybe calling him a groupie was harsh, but even he couldn't spin this into anything heroic. He straight up said it. Diddy wasn't attacked, he was embarrassed. According to Costello, Diddy tried to act like he was spreading love and keeping the peace back. But that was only after he realized he wasn't in control. The assistant described how Diddy was humbled after getting checked by other inmates, losing the respect he thought his name commanded. And once that power was gone, Diddy allegedly turned to PR instead, using the media to build a fake narrative about redemption, fear, and survival. It's a classic move. When the physical power fades, you reach for the narrative power. But here's the catch. When that narrative is built on falsehoods, the cracks show fast. Even people who once supported Diddy are now saying, where's the honesty? Where's the change? Because if you're still putting out planted stories through tabloids like TMZ or Daily Mail, Are you really changing or just rebranding your manipulation? Costello made that clear. He said Diddy's entire mindset was about control. Even behind bars, he was allegedly orchestrating how stories leaked to the press, what people said about him, and how the outside world viewed him. He couldn't accept just being human. He had to be a headline, even in prison. And here's the part that really hit people. Costello said Diddy's entire situation could have been avoided if he'd simply acted like a decent person instead of trying to be untouchable. Nobody expected him to be perfect, just human. But the more he tried to maintain the illusion, the more people started to see through it. What's wild is that another name popped up too, Carlucci, supposedly one of Diddy's friends, who backed up the original knife story. But think about it. If Carlucci wasn't even there, where did he get that story from? According to Costello, there's only one possible source: Diddy himself. That's where the whole thing unravels. You can't have a redemption arc when the truth keeps shifting. You can't preach growth when you're still trying to control the narrative like it's a press release. And you definitely can't ask for sympathy while allegedly feeding fake stories to the media. If anything, this entire situation shows that Diddy's real prison isn't just made of bars and concrete, it's made of ego. Because even when stripped of fame, money, and freedom, he still can't let go of the image. The assistant may have thought he was defending him, but in reality, he just exposed that the game hasn't changed. Diddy's still playing it, he's just running out of people willing to believe it. And here we are, full circle. After everything, after the fake knife stories, the stage sympathy, the crumbling PR illusions, Diddy is still lying, still trying, still pretending that redemption is just one interview away. It's almost sad in a poetic way. Because for all the noise, all the spin, and all the attempts to rewrite what happened, the truth keeps showing up, louder than ever. There is no redemption arc here, just a man trapped in the same loop of denial, trying to convince the world he's changed when he hasn't even convinced himself. Think about it. The whole incident that started this chaos was over basketball. Why is it good? That's what makes the irony so heavy. The mogul who once shaped hip-hop culture and ran empires is now allegedly losing sleep over a TV show scuffle in jail. And somewhere out there, people are laughing. Not because it's funny, but because it's tragic. You can almost picture him sitting on that prison cot, replaying it all in his head. The fame, the power, the headlines, and now the silence. The assistant's slip-up exposed more than a lie. It exposed how fragile his empire really was. Because when you build your legacy on image instead of truth, one crack is all it takes for the whole thing to fall apart. Rumor even has it that he's still trying to pull strings behind bars, writing letters, planning, reaching for control in any way he can. Maybe that's true, maybe it's just talk. But if he's still trying to stage manage the narrative from inside a federal facility, then nothing has really changed. The stage is just smaller now, and the audience isn't buying it anymore. It's ironic. Diddy once had the world at his feet. He could walk into any room, command any crowd, make headlines with a single move, but power without accountability always comes with an expiration date. And now, behind those walls, he's learning that money can't outspend truth. There's also a strange emptiness to all of this. The people who used to orbit around him, the assistants, the hangers-on, the so-called loyalists, they're the ones telling the stories now, and every time one of them talks, the myth shrinks a little more. So maybe this isn't a story about redemption at all. Maybe it's about exposure, about watching a man who spent his life controlling every narrative finally lose control. The empire didn't collapse overnight. It unraveled piece by piece, word by word, interview by interview. And here's the real takeaway. Power can protect you for years, but it can't save you forever. Eventually, the truth knocks louder than the lies. So yeah, maybe there won't be a Free Diddy movement or a comeback album waiting on the other side. Maybe the story ends right here, with a man staring at the wreckage of his own making, realizing that the only thing left to manage is the mirror. All right, guys, you know what to do. Hit the comments, share your thoughts, and tell me if you think Diddy's really got one last trick up his sleeve. I'll catch you in the next one.